introduce our keynote speaker, Lou Sandler, who you're all going to hear from. Really excited to have him here. Justin has been a patient throughout our health system, throughout the hospitals and the clinics, and is going to share a lot of his story and experiences here at UCLA.
UCLA saved my life. Twice. Now, I'm not just saying that to be dramatic. Okay, this is actually my truth. My story begins in early 2017. I was diagnosed with cancer in the form of a germ cell tumor that was aggressively growing into my heart, lung, and major veins. My heart was getting crushed under the pressure, and if we didn't act fast, I wouldn't be standing here today. Well, thanks to my incredible team at UCLA, we made an action plan and we got right to work. Within days, I moved into the hospital in Santa Monica and jumped into 24-hour-a-day chemotherapy for a week at a time. Now, I continued this summer of fun all the way throughout until I underwent a massive, intense 8-hour open chest surgery to remove the rest of the tumor. Along with it, they took out most of my right lung. They had a patch repair the entire inside wall of my heart's pericardial sac with a material called cortex. And they even rebuilt my superior vena cava vein with bovine heart tissue. Somehow they put me back together, and I was saved. Number 1, cancer-free. But wait. Just a few months later, I suffered a massive complication. I was experiencing a cardiac tamponade. My heart was collapsing underneath a liter of fluid, and I was hours from death. But thanks to my magical team, once again, they rushed me to the ER with just barely hours to spare, and I was thrown into an emergency surgery right then and there. A week later, another heart surgery, and another saved by UCLA. So, of course, I am so grateful for all the team here at UCLA. I'm very proud to show up wherever I can to help out in any way because of all the care that I've received. Now, when I was asked to come today and speak about the ambulatory clinics, I said, well, most of my cancer journey was in the hospital. So there was the 46 nights in the hospital, there was the 5 surgeries, but then I thought, well, if it wasn't for all the people that worked in all the clinics, I mean, my journey wouldn't have been possible. Then again, 2017, my cancer story is kind of old news already. I was like, man, I need some fresh perspective. So I thought about it. I have an idea. How about, what if I would plan a couple of outpatient surgeries, just for this speech? I'll schedule them for, say, 2 weeks out, so I get some very fresh perspective. And then just because I like to go the extra mile, I will develop a potential complication that will land me at the Reagan ER for an entire night. Now that would totally rock. Now, of course, I didn't actually plan all this just for this talk today. But the truth is it all did happen. You see, aside from cancer, I had developed a serious sinus situation. My right sinus was so bad that it was about to collapse, and with it, the right side of my face. In addition to that, I needed a second surgeon to jump in and repair a huge hole that had formed in the middle of my septum. Now, I did these procedures right down the street, the surgical center of the 200 building. And then the ER visit, while not as exciting as my tamponade from years earlier, it still wasn't a very fun experience. Folks, this literally all happened within the last 2 weeks. So as we speak, I am still very much in recovery. I actually have stents sutured into my nose that are going to be there for another month. I can barely breathe, and despite what I look like, I'm still in a lot of pain. But I'm here. Because you've been there for me. Today, we're here to talk about CICARE. Now, it's not my job to teach you what that is. You have a great team to work on that. But it is my goal today to take CI Care and move it from a checklist into something you feel. Something your patients never forget. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share 3 reflections from the patient's point of view. All right, let's go. Number 1, it starts before you think. Now, we often think that care begins when the doctor walks in the room, but of course we know that that's not actually the case. It doesn't even start when we check at the front desk. It starts with that phone call. All right, when I think about my recent experience, I knew I had a bad situation in my sinus. I saw the results of the CT scan. But like so many patients today, I had to wait. From the day that I called to book that scan to the day that I had my surgery, over 4 months had gone by. Here's the thing. When people call in, they're not just calling to schedule. They're calling because they're scared, they're in pain, or they're just desperate for answers. And let's be real, not all patients are going to be kind. It just is. But often, underneath that frustration is usually fear. And it is up to us to meet that fear with compassion. You see, that first point of contact, that is the beginning of their journey. That is the moment that a patient will either feel held or they'll hang up the phone and call somewhere else. CI care starts before the care begins. Number 2, see the person, not just the patient. Let's talk about my recent surgery. On the day, I checked in, I met the team, but something was happening. Something inside my body that I just couldn't ignore. I was triggered. That building where the surgical suite is, 200, that's the same place where I got my cancer diagnosis years ago. Just walking in those doors brings a wave of emotion. And then, there are the smells. Let's talk about the hand sanitizer for a second. That smell literally throws me right back into chemo. It made me sick then, and even still to this day, it still hits. Of course, then again, there's the surgery part. Now, my open chest surgery, that was a highly traumatic experience. From the prep through recovery, it was a lot. And my cardiac tamponade procedure, which I was wide awake for, mind you, that was a race against the clock to save my life. This kind of trauma doesn't just fade away. So there I am, getting ready for surgery once again, and it all comes rushing back in. But this team, they didn't dismiss me. When I was sharing with them what I was feeling, they listened. They created space. They asked for what I needed. Most importantly, they treated me like a person and not a procedure. Because of that, I was able to relax. I went into my surgery that day feeling grounded, supported, and calm. That's what CI care looks like. You know, it's not just about the medical excellence. It's about the emotional presence. Okay, let's talk about number 3 now. The feeling follows them home. After my surgery, from the recovery room all the way down to the car, I felt cared for, and I was so grateful for everything that transpired that day. Until that night. I developed a nosebleed. Bad. 3 hours straight. Every piece of gauze was soaked. Clearly worried, I called the after-hours emergency line. Here's where something broke down. You see, the person that answered the phone, well, they seemed, how do I say this? Disengaged. And then I was passed back and forth between departments. There were 2 involved in this procedure, but the first said, it's not our issue. The second didn't agree, and here I am at home, clearly concerned, but nobody really wanted to take full responsibility. In the end, they were very kind and helpful, but here the system cracked in just that moment. A week later, I called back with that potential complication, and the same thing pretty much happened. So this matters, because this is when a patient is alone. No nurses, no monitors, nobody right down the hall. It's just us, and that's usually accompanied with fear. And for some reason, it always happens in the middle of the night. But this moment, this is when trust is either solidified or lost. Like, we had a great experience from start to finish. But the last thing that happens is what we remember. CI Care doesn't stop at the exit. It follows us home. As I said, UCLA saved my life more than once. To this very day, every single one of my doctors is still with UCLA. Even when there are cracks, I still trust the system. Why? Because I see how hard you work to get it right. CI Care is more than just our acronym or our model. CI Care is a mission. It's a culture. It's a way of being. And it's how we show up when someone is in pain. It's how we react when they're scared. It's how we treat people, not just in our clinics, but all throughout. If we can just treat every single patient like a whole human, even when it's hard, even when we're tired, we're not just providing health care. Now we are providing healing. So let's not just strive to be number one. Let's make it our goal to be the place that people trust most with their lives. Because I did. And I still do.